What's going on, guys? Happy Friday. What do you guys got shaking, man? There's been a lot going on in markets the last 2 days. I've probably slept like 3 hours trading everything that's going on in FX. It's been crazy. We'll get into it in a second here. Just kind of wanted to do a market update and then talk about our new signal service. I know a lot of you are showing interest, so as soon as people get on, we'll could even maybe get into a little bit crypto a little bit later. What are you guys trading today? Is anybody whipping around FX? Anybody buy any Bitcoin futures? What's up, Connor? On US equities? Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Vinny, you did? You're talking about me. Oh, yeah. No, I didn't go to bed. How about that? I had some risk on, and I was ready to tighten up my positions, put in some buy stops overnight, had a late dinner with my girl, and then all of a sudden I look at the screen and the euro just went crazy. It was like, I think it was 10:30 or 11 Eastern, which is absolutely just blows me away. I mean, I've seen some pretty ridiculous, blatant kind of manipulation, shady stuff. But a lot of times, if they're going to play with the numbers, I mean, at least you kind of have a heads up of what's coming. But for them, to have an EU summit in Brussels when it was 4:45 Brussels time, right? I don't know what time zone that is over there. And they come out with that agreement that everything's okay in the Eurozone and they solved all the world's problems and they're going to create the European utopia and everything's rainbow and puppy dogs. Well, 4:45. I mean, no, all the U.S. traders are gone. London guys aren't even in yet. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so I don't know if you guys saw, that's what ripped the euro back last night. It was unbelievable. And so the sucky part about that is, like, if you start to creep up, or at least when you have the ECB, you can make a plan and kind of, you can adjust and manage your risk accordingly. But when out of nowhere they rip the market like that, and you can be sure that there's somebody or several people that have had a really bad month being long euros. And for them to do that at 4:45, guys were long 116 calls and 115 calls, and they absolutely killed it on this move. I mean, that was just so blatant for them to do that at that time. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, that's what happened last night. And so this is kind of what I wanted to talk about today, is the fact that what's great about this copycat trading and all the technology, you can run you guys can copy my trading, and you don't have to be, you can obviously be away from your desk. You could be at work, you could be asleep. But most people, if you just went home short last night and you just came into the US session, I mean, I had about a $13,000 swing here right off the bat against me, right in my face. And so usually when you creep up and you start to break levels, you can get long, and I can actually work into intraday longs and make more money on the way up and then flip and get short. But when it just jacks you up like that in literally 1 minute, it's a lot of work to work back into that position. So I probably did 100 trades between midnight and the London Open, midnight and 3 in the morning here. And I got back all that money. And then actually I'm up, realized on the day now. It's exhausting now. But this is the type of risk management from an active trader that you can get. And I'm only going to charge $150 a month for this service. And so I'll show you in a minute. I've been running it with some European managed accounts. They've been absolutely ecstatic about our results. I've already had pretty much every single one of our customers. I think we have like 4 now that just started out with us, that on the managed account side, where they're actually, we take a percentage of the profits. But they've already been doubling their accounts, so they're putting more money in. And then, but for you guys that just want to do the copy trading, the way it works, as you can see here, this was a lot of trades. This is just today. So if you look at this morning, let me put these in order. It's just, I can't believe how much I had to trade here. This is just chipping away, trying to work back the position. But so what's great about the copycat guys is, I mean, imagine this. One of the accounts we ran this week, we ran the system linked up here to my account. So 3 days of me trading, I'm going to show you right now. For $150 a month, you don't have to do any of the work. It's completely passive. You keep all the profits. It's your account. You don't have to put money with a custodian, being me in this situation. You have control of your account. You can decide which pairs you want to trade. And sorry, guys, I had so many windows open. Is that it? Oh, that's not it. Okay, here we go. So we ran. So this is a Canadian account that we ran this on. This is 3 days of trading. 10% gain on a 50,000 Canadian account did $5,300. 10% return in 3 days, and all you have to pay is $150 to be linked in. All the technology is done for you. I can explain this to you guys if you want on kind of the ins and outs, but it's pretty amazing. So if you have an FX account, we trade through MetaTrader 4. And the way we have it set up is through this company here called Simple Trader. And so I've linked in the back end of all this via virtual private server, so it always runs, and you just connect. You set up a virtual private server as well. You connect. You sign up through this site. It'll connect you to my account, and then that's it. I mean, you can determine how much you want to, what they call the multiplier. So you could follow our trades 1-to-1. I don't really recommend that in the beginning. Probably want to do like 0.25. And what that does is it'll automatically match that particular trade size for that pair based on the size that I'm taking. Does that make sense? You guys with me? I don't want you guys lost in the details too much. I just want you to think about, I mean, the amount of returns here that you could generate passively just from piggybacking on our model and basically me sitting in the chair doing what I do best. I don't know if there's anything else out there for $150 a month. I mean, and you get to keep all the profits. It's crazy. I mean, there's a lot of traders on here that are really, it's kind of sad to see. I mean, there's some of these guys. So here you can see this is the marketplace. So on the left, I'm one of the newer, you can see here, signal name. I'm one of the newer models that popped up. I find it fascinating that nobody actually puts their real name out here. So everybody wants to hide behind, I don't know. A lot of these systems are pretty pathetic. They'll have a big month and then they literally don't do any trades, maybe a couple trades a month, try to clip like 1% a month, and then they just try to sell these signals for 30, $50. But I've been at the top of this. They have a best gainer. Today was the first day I haven't been at the top of the leaderboard, but you can see for a month overall, I think there's maybe 500 of these signal providers. So I finished third for the month. But you can go in here and compare. And maybe some of you guys are new, maybe out there on YouTube. I also put, if you click, when you sign up here, actually, Alec, can you post the link for everybody? It'll take you directly to our page. So it makes it easy when you want to join and sign up. But you'll click on Jenkins model pretty much wherever you can see it. It's going to tie into my FX book. It shows the results. So we're up 112%. Basically running like an 80% win rate. But under here is the signal information. So for some of you who are new, what I was going to say is there's a link here to this YouTube video I did, and it's going to just a little background about me. It just talks about the model, why we get the kind of consistency we do. It all depends. It all has to do with cycles and time. So price and trend is technical. That has to do with technical analysis. That's where the majority of traders focus. Very, very, very few, maybe 1% of traders have any concept of time, the fourth dimension, and all that revolves around cyclical analysis. And then you got to put on top of that the psychology of trading, and then you have to put on top of that the risk management or how to work your position. All that stuff we teach in our coaching, and so all my mentees and everybody that's on my coaching clients, we trade together. We work on that stuff. But this is a great passive way for you guys to get involved. I put the parameters in here. I finished that yesterday. I think that's the bulk of what I wanted to say on that. But I mean, that's just crazy. I did 25,000 last month. I mean, depending on the size of your account, let's say you had a $50,000 account. I mean, you make 12 grand you only pay is $150. So, and the great thing too is like, being able to sit here and manage the risk. Not a lot of people were paying attention at 11 o'clock last night and able to trade around the position and manage the risk. You're just not going to get that on some of these other signal providers. So anyway, we're going to keep doing that. I think we can grow it really big. I'm excited about it. If you guys don't have a Forex account, if you don't have a broker, if you're completely new to MetaTrader, we can help you get all that set up. What I want you guys to do is, if you're new, just come to blockedgecapital.com, and if you click the education tab, this is where we have our training course. I teach the whole 9 hours videos of our 10 years of my experience on the institutional model that we built. But on the left here, there's a free public chat room. Just come in here. It's free to join, and you can message myself or my partners, Alec and Ritas, and we'll help you guys with that setup process on the Forex side. But don't get overwhelmed with the details. I just want to make sure you guys connect with us. And keep it simple there. We'll figure the rest out. But yeah, I'm sorry. I totally just kind of went off there. You asked me about S&Ps. I think stocks trade pretty well, actually. I thought we could hold in front of 2680. So here's on the right is S&Ps. All right. You have, let's do the 4 hour. Back out a little bit more. Like that. Anyway, this should be zooming out here. So it says it's supposed to be 180 days. That's not 180 days. Well, S&Ps, we've been in this wedge. I would say the backdrop of stocks right now is the growth. If you look at GADP, this is your typical sine curve. What we care about in global macro is growth and inflation. And so right now, you have European growth is decelerating. That's been going on for a while. That's been going on since the third, fourth quarter of last year. And you have China slowing. That's been going on about the same time frame. Market hasn't really picked up on this at all. It's still looking in the rear view mirror at all the numbers. Just they don't look at things as far as, on the margin, as we call it. So what we care about is not if the number is good or bad. You want to care about if it's getting better, if it's getting worse. So that's the key. When you want to start thinking cyclically, it's not about, oh yeah, the GDP number was this, it was good, it was better than last quarter. You want to measure and map this stuff year over year, and that will give you the cycle. So what's happened, European growth, Chinese growth, this has all been slowing. That's why you can see the Chinese stock market's been a terrible place. It's been getting crushed all year. European equities, the euro has been one of our favorite shorts. We've made a lot of money being long the dollar, obviously, the last couple of months. But as far as the U.S. is kind of holding up the entire world economy right now. And the U.S. data was exceptional. It was great, right? U.S. data was absolutely great coming into the last couple months. And we went from great economic growth numbers to, guess what, good. So when you go from great to good, that's a deceleration, right? So what we need to watch for is if this deceleration continues and we actually see the data go from good to poor, right? So that's what we need to watch for. And if you look at bond yields have actually gotten this right because yields are starting to come back down now. So the bond market's sniffing that out. And this may not play out till the back half of this year. But I wouldn't be surprised if growth slows into the end of the year. And so what that means for stocks is we got to really hold this pie area. This whole area needs to hold. If growth starts to slow, stocks are probably going to pick up on that. And then we're going to retest this area. If we break this area, then you're going to see me get bearish S&Ps for the first time in years. We've been bullish stocks since the third quarter of 2016. So that's what I care about in stocks. And so in the intermediate term, in the intermediate term, we got a little bit high within the range. We got a little bit high within the range up here, guys, right? So whether you want to technically draw the downtrend or you want to throw like a regression channel over the top of this, this was the top of the range. We broke that to a new higher high, right, up here. But when you go from here to here, you kind of had a good run. So I was expecting actually this ebb and flow back the other way. And so we talked about you want to be a buyer. I mean, I bought Apple calls on this day. And either the market was going to hold this area or we could fall. If we took out that low right here, you could fall back to the kind of the bottom of this range, where you still want to be a buyer until this breaks. That's the way to play it. So you buy there. That was the right thing. We'll see if we can trade back up here in line with this kind of uptrend. Yeah, that's pretty much all I think about stocks. The inflation picture has been coming down. So, you know, the Fed, a lot of Wall Street, they like to look at the numbers that are being reported, you know, for the week. Well, that stuff is based on data that happened a month ago. So what you want to really do to kind of gauge inflation is you look at the price of commodities, you look at the price of oil. Oil came off, but now oil's rallied back to the highs. But commodities have been getting smoked lately. Soybeans, you know, copper's down. The only thing that's really rallied is energy. So your inflation picture is not accelerating like it was the last 6 months. It's kind of stalled out. That's another reason why bond yields have kind of come back in. All right, Connor, what are you doing there? Are you long? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's definitely still bullish stocks. I'm a little bit more cautious going into the back half of this year. So you just got to trade it around. You know, if you buy something well, I mean, I brought up Apple. If you buy something well, you know, I'm not afraid. Like I bought it down here in front of 180, and then we had this little three-day pop, and I sold calls 190 against what I bought. If I was a raging bull, there's no reason to do that. So I'm just going to keep trading it around. I mean, I don't have a problem buying more Apple down in the 170 handle, anything with 170, low 170s, mid 170s. But you give me rallies, I'm going to sell some calls against my position, some covered calls. I mean, I don't know why I just typed FANG. That's pretty funny. Amazon, you know, everything, a lot of these names are still making new highs. The US is definitely the place to be, you know. Look at Germany, guys. Is that a chart? Does that chart look the same? You broke pi, you've been making lower highs, now you're making lower lows. Germany's in a bear market. Spain, disaster. What's Portugal? Italy, disaster. If we look at the Shanghai, that's right. You know, I always struggle to remember this one. So when you start to look at that lower lows, so when you start to realize that you can front run a lot of the equity markets when you really start to measure and map growth the right way. So the US is still the place to be long US and short a lot of other, especially emerging markets. You know, the dollar's had such a big rally. Anybody that's been long EM, they got absolutely crushed. So the place to hide out is still in U.S. stocks, technology, but that stuff is going to start to, if growth starts to slow, the high beta stuff is a little bit risky. So I don't know. That's you just got to be a little bit cautious and a little bit more defensive when you're buying stuff in here. and also been more bullish on bonds. So we talked about we bought the low in bonds a couple weeks ago down here, and now we've rallied back up basically 3 points. All the same thing. If bond yields have finally kind of peaked out, if growth is going to slow a little bit, the long bond should trade better. Everybody's been short bonds too. That's been a pretty crowded position. Yeah, Connor. I think hey geez, would be good for an EU. I like JFD. You could message me. I don't know if you heard my chat there. If you come into our chat room, you can message me. But JFD is a European broker I really like. We have some managed accounts set up there. But I'll help you on that. But yeah, Connor, I think the Nikkei in Japan, I mean, it's very much about the yen. So we got the dollar yen back up towards 111. If you break out above 111, there's going to be a lot of yen weakness. And that's usually bullish for the Nikkei. But Nikkei is holding in there. I don't disagree. I think the world has a lot of issues. But usually if you get the yen right, that kind of influences the Nikkei a little bit more. What are you guys doing in crypto? It's been a slow summer, but we're back on some big levels here. Back on some major levels. These are the intraday low and futures, depending on which contract you want to look at. But I've been nibbling on futures. I'm not definitely be trading this around. I mean, you give me any kind of pop back above like 6,200, 6,300, I'll be coming out of some of this long and then just keep trading around. I'll buy some more down around 5,500. And then it'd be nice to see us finally turn the corner here and start making get this intermediate term back into an uptrend. On the cash side, I bought some Amise Go that I need to signal for our crypto team, actually. But I bought some Amise Go today. That was the only other trade I've done. Been so focused on FX today. 1 second, guys. I was just looking at Dragon real quick. But yeah, let's see. What was I gonna say? Oh, Amise Go looks good. I like the cyclical place in time where we are on OMG. And we're also back to this prior base. So we've been highlighting this one for a while. If you guys listen to our Bitcoin podcast called Buy or Sell What the Hell, we had Noah as our head developer. He was on talking about how he likes Amise Go and kind of what they've been doing. Talking about the main project team leader. So he's bullish on that. I like to hear that from a guy that's really tied in with the technology and the development world. I mean, he's all over the space in Toronto, speaking, doing hackathons. So if you get some of these names we like, we're back to all these prior bases before we went on these last big bull cycle run. So we'll see if we can turn the corner here in July. you're setting up a cycle turn both on the intermediate term and then the longer term wave. This is a really interesting cyclical chart. It's got nice flow. So I like that one. As far as the majors go, you know, this is just fancy footwork in here at this point. I mean, I've taken a couple stabs here and put all my cash in on the cash portfolio, and we haven't been able to bounce. So we can't really get any traction. So if you keep trading lower, you want to have cash. So if I put some money to work, we can't bounce. We take out the low, or I get more aggressive. That's part of my risk management process. Is I just get right back out. So you guys can see here, this is not a lot of risk to take, right? I mean, I'm long here, got pretty aggressive, and then we took out this low. So I'm only risking this amount versus, you know, if you don't trade it around, if you don't cut your risk at times, you're sitting on a move down. You know, this is a lot more than this, right? So we'll see. If I didn't like that we couldn't hold this low, it makes me think we're going to trade back into the 360 area that we held in April. Definitely a possibility. You can box off. You guys can box off these bases. So my traders know that bottoming is a process. It's not one particular point. And so we have some framework that I've taught them that I just identified in my own trading over the years. But when you're making lower lows, I'll teach you guys some stuff here. When you're making lower lows, the first sign that a market's going to turn isn't your opinion. It's not somebody else's opinion. It's not valuation. It's none of that stuff. The first sign that a market's going to turn is you've got to first stop going down. It's pretty simple, but you got to be able to identify that. So the market was making lower lows and the market's making lower highs, right? But then here, this is interesting. Is this the bottom when you finally stop going down? You don't know, though, until you get a new high or high. Because you could base here, right? You could base, and then what can happen? Right? You could just break to a new low. But you got to learn to start noticing finally when the market stops going down. And you kind of got to know which lower highs to pay attention to. But as soon as Ether got above here, so you can see there's another lower high right there. This was actually a higher low, which is constructive. That's a higher low relative to this double bottom, triple bottom. But to confirm this new uptrend, you had to get a higher high, which occurred right there when you broke above this high. And so that is what we call the right-hand side of the cycle. This is where you want to be aggressive. You can nibble in here, but you got to be patient. Anytime you're buying lower lows, you have to be patient. That's what gets people in trouble in these intermediate term downtrends. And if you buy something well, you can't be afraid to take it off. I actually took some risk off right there, but then I put it back on right here in a more aggressive fashion. And we added. And so what we need to see is that same type of price action. We've got lower highs here. This is the pivot now. This is a little bit of a pivot. This one's not close to the bands. This is the real pivot right here, 480. So the fact that we just keep making lower highs, made another lower low, it's tough to buy lower lows. So just cut that half of that risk. And then we'll see if we can actually retest Oh, what I was going to say is you can kind of box those ranges. So that was the prior base right there, right? Before we broke out. So if we retest the lows, that's a natural place for the market to want to hold. So we'll see. If we don't test those lows, we come back up and we make a higher high, I just get right back in the stuff that I took off today. But I'd rather have the cash to put to work, 30%, 20% lower. I can buy more. The cash can buy me more down there. So a little bit of defense on Ethereum. Litecoin played some defense too. It's hanging out right on these lows at 72.5. It's just been trading horrible too. I'm surprised we're all the way back here. What else are you guys looking at? You guys want to look at the market on a relative value basis? Meaning, what do the majors look like compared to each other? This chart wasn't working for me the other day. Something wrong with one of the ticks. Let's see if it. So I'm not sure if this is the daily level. 4 hour. Everything's trading pretty tight, really tight together. That's just pretty rare. Usually you get something that sticks out, like Bitcoin Cash was sticking out a little bit here. We were pretty wide back here in the middle of April. Daily level, I'm not surprised. Litecoin is underperforming. It's the cheapest. Ethereum's been outperforming for months and months. If you look at the hourly, pretty tight. Pretty tight. Nothing really sticking out except for big picture. Let's look at one other chart. I gotta fix this chart. I've lost the data on Bitcoin Cash. I think that's Bittrex did something with the symbol. I gotta fix that one. We can look at these outright though. So let's see. Actually, so Ether versus BTC. We're actually back at Pi. I wouldn't say Ether is cheap relative to Bitcoin on this chart, but it's kind of at fair value. I don't really like that term, fair value, but it's a term for kind of in the middle or the mean. I wish this background would just stay like this. Probably have to change my defaults for that. But if you guys look at this long-term picture, right, of Ether versus BTC, you see the Pi line. I'm trying to figure out how I want to explain this. The Pi line here, you've got the 200 and Pi kind of ribboning, right, across each other. But this is pretty sideways overall. So when you get Ether way away from the 200. It's getting overbought relative to Bitcoin price. Doesn't mean it's bearish. I'm just saying, is Ethereum trading at a premium relative to Bitcoin? The answer is yes up here. Is it undervalued down here? Absolutely. All right. So that's different than directionally saying the market's bullish or bearish. I'm just making the comparison that if this is your mean or the average, this is high within the range, this is low within the range, this is high, this is pretty low. So right now we're kind of right in the middle. So these were great spots to be getting aggressive, maybe allocating a lot more of your portfolio to Ethereum. You could still obviously be long or bullish Bitcoin, but these are the times to say, hey, maybe I should put more to work in Ether. And then when you have these big run-ups, you want to be taking advantage of that strength and lightening up. So I see this right now as pretty good equilibrium as far as the longer term goes. I mean, if you get Ethereum to be 16 cents on the dollar versus Bitcoin, seems to be. I mean, I would think longer term that could be more like 30 cents, 30% of the Bitcoin price, maybe more. But yeah, I mean, when you get back to levels like 2-3 cents, that's a no-brainer. Does this make sense to you guys? Do you kind of see that? That's what I see when I look at this stuff on a relative value basis. If you look at Litecoin, Litecoin's getting pretty cheap. Getting pretty cheap. Do you guys know if you can run a regression channel on CoinAG? I think someone told me that there might be. I think that was on MetaTrader 4. I didn't know if they made an adjustment to that. I haven't found one. I don't think so. I'll just eyeball it. But this is kind of the long-term range. So when you get up, it's the same thinking, right? You get up here, you're getting a little bit rich. Litecoin's looking a little bit expensive relative to Bitcoin. And then this is when you see these big moves in Litecoin out of nowhere. I mean, I guess the market there's enough big players that understand this, or that, whatever. It's just anytime you get back, we're getting to those levels on Litecoin that's really looking pretty cheap. Let's look at Bitcoin Cash. You guys like this stuff? Have you seen anybody else kind of draw it this way? All right. This is probably not the best one to do on GDAX. I'm pretty sure they removed it on Bittrex. It used to be BCC versus BTC. Now that's not trading anymore. It's kind of right in the middle also. I don't see anything that's sticking out. If we were down at 0.10, Bitcoin Cash looks really starting to get pretty cheap. Yeah, it's getting there. If you get back towards 0.10, I think, I mean, I haven't directionally, we made really good sales on Bitcoin Cash above 1200, and I haven't bought any back yet. Maybe a one nibble, nothing in a meaningful way. I think this is where you look to buy Bitcoin Cash down here. So we're getting closer on that one. All right, guys. What's everybody doing here on a Friday? I've done a lot of trading. I got to just clean up a couple things on the Forex side. I'd just encourage you guys to sign up. I mean, I've been putting real-time alert signals for years on for our Forex traders. I mean, I've trained hundreds of traders all around the world on Forex. Some of them have quit their jobs, making, 10, 15,000 a month. But they traded with me every day for a long time. For years, we'd get up, trade London together, etc. And I'll tell you guys, I used to put the real-time alert signals in the River Room manually just to try to keep my traders, those people that sign up for the coaching or were in the live room or did the training videos, you would get the real-time alerts. I would put that stuff in manually. So finally now, I guess I caught up to the times, but with the technology, this is just amazing that you can just link in effortlessly with my trading and what we're doing. So I think that's going to help a lot of people. I don't think you can beat the price. Do you guys want me to go over that again? Just go to simpletrader.com. If you're just joining us, there's a link here in the chat. But simpletrader.com, you can find me on the marketplace. It's Jenkins model. You just click right here, copy trades. All right. And then you also can come in to our River Room. If you go to blockedgecapital.com, here you guys can find me in my FX book too. I mean, this is called a breakout. So there's a lot more to come here on this. What was I going to say? Oh, you go to blockedgecapital.com. And if you want a little bit extra help, I just encourage you guys to join the chat room anyway. It's free to join. Go to the education tab. And some of you, it's one thing that what's great about the signals is you can earn passive income, right? And you can leverage the model. But if you really want to learn this signal or learn how to trade, if something happens to me or, some of you guys are younger, you develop this skill to trade and invest. You can trade any market, anytime, anywhere in the world for the rest of your life. So that's always been my goal. So we have a tight group that I've either trained from the videos or they do the coaching sessions, which is over here. We trade live together. That's where you can really take this and own it and make it yours. So wherever you think you fit in here, there's plenty of choices, but you can get in the chat room right here if you got questions about where you want to fit in. Yeah, I guess the only other thing I'll say on that is don't let the price, guys, hold you back. This is a small price to pay. I'm telling you, this is tiny. I just showed you guys how in 3 days of trading with this model on a $50,000 account did $5,000 in 3 days. This is you sign up and you learn to trade with me for this price. I guarantee you're going to get that back in the lifetime 10, 100 times over. if you learn this model and you apply yourself, obviously, right? I paid 12 grand to learn Forex, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do, is be a trader. This was when I was just starting out in my career. I knew that this was a small price to pay. I mean, we literally made millions in the markets between clients, our desk, my firm, me. I mean, this is just a small price to pay. If you don't think you can invest this into yourself and get it back, that's just a question of really how you believe in yourself and how you think about what you're capable of. But this you can't beat this. You can't beat this. You won't get any training on how to trade anywhere out there. Cycles, risk management, execution, psychology of trading, the origins of our model. We get into cycles, wave formation, vibration, thermodynamics, physics, all kinds of cool stuff. I think that's pretty much it for me. We don't have any soccer on until tomorrow, right? Pretty much all the games are Saturday. Chain, yeah, you can pay with crypto. I think my guys, I don't know if we have that on there. This is kind of a new offer page. We can take care of that though. We've got people paying us in Bitcoin or Ethereum. That's cool. Or whatever you want. We've all got wallets. We can handle that. Okay. I missed one of those questions. Yeah, the futures and how they affect the Bitcoin price specifically. That's a great question. Do you mean how do I want to say this? A lot of people kind of think that, hell, the futures is driving the cash price, or do you mean what are the mechanics of the futures? Like how, I mean, you could talk about what is a future or how they work at settlement. Are you kind of asking more directionally? I'll let you answer that. I gotta just check the FX markets here one more time. What did I do? I'm long Euro Kiwi. I'm minus some of that. Long Euro Kiwi. Both. All right. There's some good stuff on YouTube if you kind of want to just understand the basics of futures, how they started. I think the easiest way to think about futures maybe for Bitcoin is kind of think about it from a miner perspective. But if you're mining a bunch of Bitcoin, and I think it's unfortunate, but we brought on some mining clients kind of right after the market started breaking down. And it was good that the futures came out near the highs, but I don't think people were really prepared. And I think that the majority of people that are in mining, even the big shops, right? I don't think they really come from the capital market space. I think they come from more of the tech background. And the reason I say that is because I don't think there's that many miners that hedged with futures up here. But to kind of understand it conceptually, that if you're a miner and let's just say you mine one Bitcoin, right? Let's just keep it simple. So, let's say you're going to mine one BTC. I don't know. That would be pretty aggressive, one a month, but one BTC a month. Well, if I know that I've got capital invested in plant and equipment, in my ASICs, etc., my my facility, my plant, but I know I'm generating 1 BTC a month. Well, when we get up to levels where it's really profitable, obviously at 10,000, 15,000, 19,000, 20,000. Can you imagine if you were a miner and you sold forward 3 BTC contracts? In other words, you could go out 2-3 months and say, all right, I want to lock in that BTC price at 20,000 out until May. You could go into the market and sell short one May contract at that price, and you could lock in BTC. So if you know you're going to be earning one a month, or you know that, okay, January, February, March, April, May, I'm going to have, I'm going to have this Bitcoin, but I'm not sure that Bitcoin's where it's going to be. Yeah, it might be at 30,000, but we know the volatility shit. It could be down at 10,000. If you were to be able to lock in, and maybe you didn't need to sell all 3 of them there, but maybe if you just sold 2, you lock in forward price at BTC and you have the right to sell that Bitcoin at 20,000. That's the idea behind. It's the same thing, obviously, that started in the commodities market. If you're producing soybeans and you got a crop and it takes you a month to get to market, you got a lot of risk in worrying about what the price is going to do over that month or 2 before you even get to market. You get to market, you harvest everything, and the price crashes, you lost a lot of money. So this was unfortunate. I don't think any of the mining community was set up to really take advantage of these futures. That's kind of one way to think about how it affects the price. But I think most of what the community anchors on is, oh man, the institutions are coming in here and they're sellers and they want the price lower, and it's the banks and they're selling the futures to get the price down. That's not how the futures really operate. The futures are, yes, you have buyers and sellers in this market, but the market knows the difference between the futures price and the spot price, which is the price of the overall index. So the mechanics of how the CBOE or CME works is they're taking an aggregate of, I don't know it exactly. I might have a little bit of these details off, but they're taking the average price of like the Gemini price, GDAX, maybe Coinbase. They're taking an aggregate of the price, the spot price on the exchanges, the cash market. It's called the cash market because you have to take your cash or your tether and actually buy the coin, right? You're exchanging for the actual coin. The futures market is you're taking dollars or you're using your leverage to buy a contract, which is a derivative. So the cash market is when you're actually buying the underlying asset. But the spot price, so the futures is actually trading based off of the aggregate of the price index. So you could sell futures all day long, but that might drive the futures price down, but that doesn't necessarily going to move the Bitcoin price on Binance. So don't buy into the manipulation stuff. You can manipulate the price around a little bit, kind of intraday. You'll get a little spread between the cash market and the futures. The global demand for Bitcoin is not coming from the futures market. This futures market, I mean, the volumes that they're having have been really spectacular considering the launch, even though the market's been pretty bearish. If you compare like the Bitcoin launch of these futures versus something like when the gold launched or the VIX launched, it's actually done. The volume has been really, really pretty good. But the global demand is coming from, how many accounts did Coinbase open up in a day? It was 100,000 or something stupid. This futures market is really pretty small. I mean, I can go in here and I'm a lot of times I'm the bid. I'm buying 2 contracts and I'm the entire bid in the entire world. It's tiny. Yeah, that was a long roundabout. I hope that helped. But you can see there's a discrepancy between like the low and futures. And you got to understand about futures too, is you're going to have different contracts. So there was a January contract at one point. There was a February contract. There's a March. There's a May. There's a June. There's a July. There's an August. So what they call the most active contract is whatever contract the majority of people are trading. When you get close to expiration of a particular month, it's usually the next month takes over as what they call the active contract. And so for charting purposes, they call it a continuation chart, but you're taking they call that the roll. You take the price of the contract that's expiring it, and you have to roll into the next month. And so you got to kind of take an average between those contracts, the active contract, and that kind of creates what they call a continuation chart. You could look at a specific contract, and the low might be a little bit different here in February. You can't look at you can't look at the March contract because it didn't exist yet. But if you look at the February contract, that low might be a little bit different than this 58.85. Just like the cash market, you got a different low for GDAX, you got a different low for, pick your exchange. That's why I always say, guys, trading is relative. You want to look at that as areas. If you get all crazy, like, oh, we broke the low in futures, and if you're going to get short just because you took out the low by $100, you're just asking to get whipsawed. Yeah, don't buy into that. The futures is causing the price fluctuations. No. That's people don't understand. I mean, the market is so much bigger than the Chicago Board of Options Exchange. The global market for crypto is so much bigger than the CME. And you can get some manipulation. Even the big boys can't even hardly push the silver market around. But again, they manipulated the silver markets by you can read up on this. Everybody thinks Warren Buffett is such a white horse. He's gotten lucky a couple times. He didn't get in a lot of trouble for manipulating silver, but they were buying silver in New York and moving it, taking physical delivery and moving it to London. So that's like buying Bitcoin up and then moving it, to a different exchange. The guys in New York, they were doing this. And then what they did was they made that made it look like in New York that there was a shortage in silver, the supply. And then they were buying it up and they were trying to manipulate the price higher. He got in a bunch of trouble for doing that. It was back when Solomon, before that, you had Phil Bro. He got away with it, but he ended up having to come out and CFTC over there in London. They made an announcement that I think there was the London regulators told these guys they had to come forward or what their positions were. So anyway, it's not so easy to manipulate a market, but right now, I mean, the futures market it's tiny. It's all the demand. I mean, you can have one night where South Korea, the big players in South Korea decide they want to buy, and you're gonna rip crypto market. And guess what? The futures market's not even open. How are you manipulating the Bitcoin price over the weekend? Futures aren't even open. I mean, there's so many flawed ideas in that. Why are we having these big moves in crypto when the futures markets are closed? I mean, you're gonna when you get these gaps up and down in the futures market, traders are naturally going to say, "All right, well, I can buy futures cheap, or I can sell Bitcoin and then buy the futures this morning on the open, and there's a spread there, and guys are playing that like that." Yeah, that's all. Don't get confused in that stuff. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter why price is doing what it's doing. You got to trade what is. Does it really matter what causes the price to break 5,000 if we break 5,000? Doesn't matter, right? You gotta play defense. You gotta have a trading plan. The question is, what are you gonna do? It doesn't really matter why the market's doing what it's doing. You're gonna have some other theory when the market's rallying again. You could make the same people are gonna make the same nonsense up on the way up as they do on the way down. It doesn't What matters is how are you managing your risk, right? So that's what we want to focus on. Your timing, how you manage the trade. Yeah, buddy, I agree with you on that. Twitter and crypto people that are out there playing big shot is just it's it's just funny. They got a lot more Twitter followers than me though. I think part of that was I couldn't even when you're on an institutional desk, you're not even allowed to have a Twitter account. Brennan who's one of the traders at Block Edge and one of the partners, he'd tell you the same thing. Like he's just getting Twitter accounts. So I think that kind of hurts us. These guys that have been in crypto have huge followings that have a moving advantage. But we'll get there. All right, guys. Well, hey, I hope to see a lot of you. Let's get signed up over the weekend. We've already had some big moves. The longer you wait, just a lot of opportunity you're going to miss out on. And then for those of you that want to learn how to trade and you want to learn how to do this, I can't guarantee how much time I'm going to have to teach and coach traders. I mean, we're building a digital asset management firm. So down the road, if we've got 50, 100 million in assets under management, I'm going to have to be busy with my trading desk. I've ran a couple fixed income desks, and there's just going to be a lot more risk management and worrying about the desk and being able to coach and teach. So this is a great opportunity while I still have some time to do this stuff with you guys and trade together. I'm happy to coach some of you along the way. So it's fun. So look forward to see some of you guys in the room next week. Let us know. I'd like to get you. Oh, you know what? I did a promotion too on Simple Trader. You might see it there. The first 20 people that signed up, just because I want to get this going, I'll give you 20% discount on the signal also for the next 3 months. So whatever that is, 20% off 150 for 3 months for the first 20 people that sign up. But yeah, let's get that going. So that keeps me in the chair wanting to make more trades. But all right, guys, enjoy your weekend. It's pretty nice here in South Florida. Probably gonna go try to get on the golf course. if you guys can hear me. Have a great weekend. Thanks for following us for that long, Shane. If you want to go deeper in the model, just all right, guys. I've been in and out. I don't know what I just dropped a couple times, but have a great weekend. I'll just put in the chat there if something's wrong with the audio. Um, we'll see some of you guys this weekend and see what crypto does, and we'll be back at it Monday. And I'll see you guys in the live room on Tuesday.